Because fantasy's going to be popping, son.
Yeah, man, and Lamar Jackson's going to be popping as well against the Cincinnati Bengals. He played them earlier this season, and he was the QB2 with over 30 fantasy points. The Bengals are giving up the most rushing yards per game this season, and that makes a lot of sense to put in there with Lamar Jackson since he can do that.
I see you, Fab, stepping up your swag game.
Because I said popping?
Yeah, but
you
so
guys
when you
laughing
said it,
at
though,
me?
you hit it.
Okay,
You hit it on popping.
From one popping quarterback to another, Akbar, Patrick Mahomes, he's your guy, and he practiced in full today for the first time since banging up his knee, man.
Yeah, this one's got me super excited. I mean, of course, we all know what Patrick Mahomes is capable of doing.
Look at him. Look at him.
You know what's crazy is that, I mean, he could put up some gaudy numbers in this matchup against a Malcolm Butler-less defense for the Tennessee Titans. I mean, you look at what this defense doesn't have a presence against this offense. This could be a big-time game. I'm talking about 45 points or more.
Did you say Malcolm Butlerless?
I couldn't even get it out.
That was pretty good, though.
Yeah, I was trying to get it
That
out.
was well done.
Patrick Mahomes used to play baseball, and so did your matchup, Cynthia.
Yeah, I'm looking at Kyler Murray.
Oh, he
Okay.
did.
Yep,
Drafted
you may
first round, too. Yeah.
He might have heard he also was drafted in the baseball draft, right?
Oh, yeah.
First and
Great
first.
pick. Almost 18.5 fantasy points per game this season, 9th ranking. This is a great matchup for him against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are allowing almost 27 fantasy points per game to quarterbacks since week 3. Guess where that ranks?
Where's
that?
Number 1, most.
Hey-o.
See, kind of like where he was drafted.
Got
Got it? See what I did there?
there, Marcus. Let's see what you can do here when it comes to running backs.
Yeah, let's talk about Derrick Henry, who is a very large man. He's also 5th in the NFL in rushing attempts, going against the Chiefs, who have the 2nd worst run defense in the league. He's had at least 78 scrimmage yards in 7 of 9 games. Now we're hoping that this week they don't forget about him for the better part of the game and then suddenly just load him up with a whole bunch of touches late.
Okay, Akbar, your running back's been talking awful loud about that weekend matchup, Alabama-LSU.
Yes, you know, look, Mark Ingram, I think what he did against the Patriots just kind of is a product of the fact that he's got a dynamic quarterback in Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
When you get Lamar Jackson back there, who's a legitimate dual threat, can throw the ball, can run the ball, that spreads out defenses. And we saw that against a top-rated defense in the Patriots, and the lanes just get opened up. No defense is going to keep its responsibility when you've got that kind of threat. So Mark Ingram is going to continue to do this, especially against this matchup against the Bengals. Expect for him to have another big-time production.
Yeah, Baltimore, they run the ball plenty. Fabs, who you going with?
Yeah, Aaron Jones, I mean, he gave you a stinker last week. Wasn't real pleased with the production or lack thereof. But he's got the Panthers this week. They've allowed the most fantasy points to running backs since week 6. They've also allowed 2 top 4 fantasy backs in their last 2 games. So Aaron Jones should make like Zeke Elliott and eat.
All right, Cynthia, I need a wideout.
This one's a little boomer bust, but I really like Mike Evans' opportunity and upside against the Cardinals. Yes, Patrick Peterson is potentially going to shadow him, but I really think that his air yards per game is a good indicator of where he could end up in this one. And he has the most by any player since 2016 with 159 air yards per game this season.
Okay. And next up, Marcus, I still haven't seen this cat and Neo in the same room at the same time.
No. You know, they dance, they sing, they catch touchdowns.
They
Amari
do.
Cooper,
Uh-huh.
that's the guy we're talking about going against the Vikings. And he is the top target in what is a top 10 passing offense down there in Dallas. And once upon a time, we were scared to start wide receivers against the Vikings. Those days are kind of over. I mean, Xavier Rhodes, Trey Waynes, not the lockdown corners they had been in previous years.
Let's go to Crescent City, Fabs.
Yeah, man. I mean, Michael Thomas has been straight fire this season. Over 11 targets per game. That leads the National Football League. He's playing Atlanta. They've given up 10 touchdowns and nearly 30 fantasy points to receivers lined out wide. That's where MT is about 72% of the time. So this one's easy, guys. He is going to put up a huge line.
Hey, Fabs, you're on fire right now, man. Hey, you on fire right now. Quietly?
It's actually fire.
Okay.
It's actually fire.
Dropping a little knowledge right there. Marcus, you know how we round things out. Hit us with the tight end.
Yeah, let's do this. We go with Hunter Hurst Henry.
Oh, Triple H?
Triple H.
Okay.
Well, you know what? Since he came back from injury in week 7, he leads all tight ends in targets and receiving yards. He's tied for the most receptions. He's going against the 3rd worst fantasy defense against tight ends in the Oakland Raiders.
Hey,
From
easy.
Triple H to GKO.
Yeah, man. George Kittle has been a San Francisco treat, leads that team in targets, catches, and yards this season. And the Seahawks have allowed the 2nd most yards per game to enemy tight ends. And lately, over their last 5 games, they've given up a top 5 tight end 3 times. It's going to be a big game for Mr. Kittle.
Well, if he's been a San Francisco treat, I think Cynthia's matchup is a KC masterpiece.
Oh, I like that.
Oh, I love that. Good
Come on now.
job. Listen, you guys are on fire today. Travis Kelce, he's
Fire.
only Faya, the only tight end in the NFL with 9 or more fantasy points in every single game. What does Tennessee Titans there? The Malcolm Butler list.
Yes.
Tennessee Titans is also a good opportunity for Travis Kelce, along with all of the pass catchers in this one.
The Butler did not do it in that matchup.
No.
Because in case you missed this, we're heading to New York. Le'Veon Bell, his MRI this week didn't reveal any structural damage in his knee and ankle, so he did not practice today, but he did work inside with trainers instead. So Fabs, where's your worry meter at right now for Bell this week and beyond?
I'm not that worried yet because Adam Gase did say that he expects Bell to play this week. If he doesn't practice on Friday, then the concern meter will certainly go up. Pick up Ty Montgomery as insurance if you're concerned right now.
Okay, let's continue. In case you missed this, NFL Network's Tom Pelissero says that Adam Thielen is not expected to play Sunday versus Dallas, but his right hamstring injury is not considered to be long-term. That's according to his front man, Mike Zimmer. So, Marcus, how do you handle this if you own Thielen stock and you need to win now?
Well, I think the first thing you do is you go to the waiver wire and see if B.C. Johnson is there, maybe Laquan Treadwell if you are really in a desperate sort of way. Because here's the thing. Adam Thielen is out this week. He may be out next week if the Vikings decide to be cautious, because after that, then they have a bye. So you could be looking at 3 straight weeks without having Adam Thielen available.
You better call that man by his Nigerian name, Ola BC.
There you go. Feel better?
Yeah,
All right, cool.
Do you know him, Akbar?
Yeah, he's Nigerian. That's my
okay.
cousin.
All right. Move things along. In case you missed it, as the world of A.J. Green turns in Cincy, the day started with his head coach, Zach Taylor, saying he thinks that Green will make his debut on Sunday. Jubilation. Then A.J. Green told Tom P. that he isn't ready to put a percentage on his chances for playing Sunday. And then it ended with this. He didn't feel great after the walkthrough, so Green went and got some treatment. Status now day by day with the did not practice tag. So looks like that debut up in the air once again.
Yeah, this one is so frustrating for fantasy owners. Here we are, week 10. I mean, this is like you're trying to get over that hump. You got the buy-getting going on. There's so much going on. You want him back, but of course, you look at their record and what they're doing in the AFC. You can tell. It's probably, who knows what the chances are of him coming back into this offense that is struggling.
He was like, what's our record again? He sneezed and then turned his ankle, so he is listed as day-to-day. Now, a little bit later, Cynthia, she's going to project some of the players returning from injury and take it to the house. It's a Wednesday staple here on NFL Fantasy Live. Now, in case you missed this, quarterback Jacoby Brissett practiced today on a limited basis on that sprained MCL, and T.Y. Hilton, he was a no-go with that busted-up calf. So, Marcus, if Brissett is a go, he has Miami, and last time I looked, they're not so good. So do you like this matchup, and would you go with Brian Hoyer if he's no-go?
Absolutely like the matchup. Even without T.Y. Hilton or Paris Campbell, there's still some pass catchers there that they can get the football to. And look, we saw Brian Hoyer go and throw 3 touchdown passes last week, so if he ends up being the guy, I think you feel okay with him with 6 QBs out this week.
Okay, more from the world of news. Giants tight end Evan Ingram, he ruled himself out Sunday versus the Jets with a low-grade foot sprain. Now, he says it's not a Liz Frank injury, and he hopes to be back next week. So, Fabs, give me a few spot starts for owners out there who need a tight end desperately.
Yeah, by the way, my source is saying that Evan Ingram will be back in week 11, so the Giants are just being cautious here. But, I mean, I'll give you a list of very mediocre options off the waiver wire because tight end it's an absolute barren wasteland right now. Jonnu Smith, Vance McDonald, Jason Witten, Jack Doyle, Kyle Rudolph, and Evan has himself on the bench, and he is starting O.J. Howard in his place.
It is that time once more. Start him and sit him in. Have you won some leagues with LT back in the day?
Oh, man, I love LaDainian Tomlinson, man. He's won me plenty of leagues.
And Fabs is here once again. He's going to hit you with those starts and sits, and he's going to kick you that sleeper that he sprinkles in every single week just for fun. He's going to start us off with some starts at running back. We can't start LT this week, but who are you going with?
I would if I could, though.
That's
Marlon
right.
Mack is a very good play. He has scored fewer than 9 fantasy points in 2 of his last 3 games. But, Cole, this is the Dolphins. They've allowed nearly 5 yards a carry, 9 total touchdowns, and the 5th most fantasy points to running back. So Marlon Mack is a very good play, and so is David Montgomery. I was wrong on him last week. He averaged fewer than 3 yards a carry, but he scored 2 touchdowns. He's had 20-plus points in 2 straight games. Now he gets the Lions. They have allowed 13 touchdowns and the most fantasy points to enemy running backs. So David Montgomery is a very strong play.
Okay, throw him an Ephus pitch. I want to sit when it comes to running backs, but I also want a beware.
All right, buddy, so we'll start off with the sit, and that's Joe Mixon. This is not a surprise. I get it. Last time he played against the Rams, pretty good. But earlier this year, fewer than 6 fantasy points against this week's opponent, the Ravens. They've also allowed just 71 rushing yards per game to opposing running backs.
Yikes.
The guy that I'm not fading him, but I'm concerned about the matchup, and that's Devonta Freeman, and here's why. The Saints have allowed the fewest rushing yards to running backs this season. They haven't allowed a top 10 runner all season long, and only Zeke Elliott has finished better than 21st in fantasy points against him at home this season, and he was only 17th, so it wasn't great either. Freeman is a guy you probably have to play. You don't have to like it.
Hopefully this week there will be no misbehaving from baby Billy Freeman. Now let's make the move to the wideouts because I need a duo that's going to be putting up a lot of points when it comes to catching passes this weekend.
And we've got 6 teams on a bye, so I'm
true.
going deep here. Zach Pascal, who looked really good last week, saw 94% of the offensive snaps, and he is the guy there with T.Y. Hilton out. Don't care who the quarterback is. I'm playing Pascal against the Dolphins, who are, well, the Dolphins. Let's just put it that way. So start Zach Pascal. Emmanuel Sanders, boy, ever since he's joined the 49ers, he has been tremendous, scoring a combined 36.7 fantasy points in 2 games with the Niners. He's been fantasy gold, Cole. And Seattle is struggling against wide receivers this season, so Sanders is a very strong wide receiver, too.
Okay, sleeper, please.
A guy maybe you hadn't thought of? Ted Ginn Jr. And listen, we talked about Atlanta's defense against the pass. They are awful. They've given up 10 touchdowns and 29 fantasy points per game to receivers lined out wide. What does Ted Ginn do? He likes to stretch defenses, make the big play, and I think Drew Brees can hit him on a long touchdown in this contest.
Yeah, number 19 in the Saints. He's known to take the top off the defense or two. Who are you sitting when it comes to wide receivers?
Not into Tyler Boyd. With or without A.J. Green, I don't like the matchup. He has really struggled in recent weeks. He has scored fewer than 9 fantasy points in 2 of his last 3 games. The last time he played the Ravens and Marlon Humphrey, he had 10 yards. In fantasy terms, that's not good. In real terms, that's not good. I'm also sitting DK Metcalf, and I've been on him for the last 2 weeks. I have loved him, but he's got the Niners this week. This defense has allowed fewer than 18 fantasy points per game. The receivers lined out wide. That's where Metcalf runs 86% of his routes, and I'm going to be very interested to see what his red zone uses is because Josh Gordon is playing in this game.
That's true. And he's taking on the San Francisco 49ers, but have you seen the abs on DK Metcalf?